Well, I see that people are just kind of slowly trickling in the room. We did have about 127 that registered for tonight's evening seminar. So I want to give everybody a chance to make sure that they are connected and in a comfortable place. Definitely a requirement for this evening's educational seminar. Well, I will get started here. Good evening and welcome to the Breast Cancer Coalition's January evening webinar. I'm Christina Thompson, Associate Director, Programs and Advocacy Initiatives for the Coalition. January marks the 25th year for the Coalition, and we continue to bring support and education to those touched by a breast or gynecologic cancer diagnosis, while supporting advocacy with our dynamic committee and funding research from local institutions that will eradicate this disease. A big thank you to all in our community. This amazing work could not be done without your support. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to make a few announcements. Registration is officially open for our 5K walk run, now called the Pink and Teal Challenge, a title that is more inclusive of our gynecologic cancer survivors. That will be held Saturday, May 13th at Genesee Valley Park. And Allie's going to help me out by putting a link in our chat right now where you can register. We are looking for volunteers to join the Pink and Teal Challenge Committee. That's going to be an opportunity to help with planning and ensure success of this event. If this is something that interests you, please contact our Director of Special Events, Meredith Utman. And Allie, please enter her email address in the chat. We are so thrilled that Meredith is back on our coalition staff. We do have a few spots still available for Qigong with Rafaela McCormick. This 4-week session starts Saturday, February 4th at 10 a.m. on Zoom. You can contact Allie for more information or for registration. Our Associate Program Director, Allie Dennison, is excited about a new offering through the Coalition. Movement and Motion is a class designed to improve range of motion, balance, endurance, and strength. Benefits include increased lymphatic flow and decreased lymphatic swelling. These movements are commonly prescribed by a physical therapist and have been turned into a gentle, fun, and accessible dance with Pamela Hinn. All movement may be done seated, so all ability levels can benefit. And a 4-week in-person session begins Thursday, February 2nd, and registration is required. Ren Van Meenen will be facilitating our virtual book club discussion of the Rochester Reads favorite, Hell of a Book, by Jason Mott tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. She's also facilitating Voices and Vision on Tuesday evenings in February, and registration is open. NIAID's Oncology Rowing is hosting a complimentary introductory evening with the NIAID's team to learn more about this rowing program. You'll have a chance to meet the crew, try out a rowing machine, and see if rowing is for you. This evidence-based exercise can help those following breast cancer surgery and is a wonderful workout for most of us. This will be taking place February 7th and March 7th, both at 6 p.m. at Genesee Waterways Center. And here's the email address that you can RSVP with. So first, just a couple things before we hop into the presentation tonight. If you have any questions for our facilitators tonight, Susan Wood or Rick Lynch, please enter them into the chat. We will have a Q&A session that's facilitated following the presentations. At any point that you do leave the webinar tonight, there will be a survey, very brief, that pops up on the screen, and I do ask you to fill out those questions. We appreciate all the feedback we get and absolutely use it to assess all the programs that we offer. We want to make sure we're giving our community the best that it deserves and wants. So let's get on to tonight's presentation. January follows the end of a season filled with the busyness of holidays for many. We look forward to focusing on mind, body, and spirit care and spirit self-care to nurture something that may have felt missing. Susan Wood designed and implemented gentle yoga in 2005 with modifications for the needs of cancer patients as a pilot program for the Breast Cancer Coalition, also a former employee of the coalition. Currently in its 17th year, this yoga program is the longest running oncology-minded yoga program in the region. Rick Lynch became certified in mindfulness and meditation with teacher David Nichtern of Denver, Colorado in 2016. He regularly facilitates mindfulness sessions for the coalition community. Rick teaches yoga and Pilates at Open Sky Yoga Center in Rochester and Finger Lakes Yoga in Canandaigua. So a big welcome to the 85 folks that we have joined in our room right now. I'd love to turn it over to Susan to tell us a bit about what she does and show us as well.
All right. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. And I just want to say how fortunate we are to have the coalition and all the resources that it provides in this region. It is amazing. You know, we are such a forward-thinking area, and I have come in contact with many folks from other areas that do not have these resources, and I just want to give us, our region and the coalition in particular, just, you know, kudos, right? So thank you for having me. As you said, I kind of stumbled into beginning the yoga program at the Breast Cancer Coalition. Well, the coalition, it was called the Breast Cancer Coalition then, in 2005, as part of my yoga teacher training. And we piloted an 8-week program. It was very well received, and folks asked for it to continue. And over the years, that has grown into what you see as the Healing Arts program at the coalition today. That is amazing and wonderful, and there's so many wonderful offerings. Currently, I teach 4 of the yoga classes at the coalition each week, and 3 on Zoom, 1 in person. And about a couple of years into teaching for the coalition, I was approached by Pluta Cancer Center, who also wanted to start a program. Now they're forward-thinking organization, and it's been about 4 years now, they have opened their integrative oncology center, and I also teach their 5 yoga classes over there. So I'm pretty busy during the week teaching lots of yoga. It's been a wonderful journey since my training back in 2005 and a little past that. I've continued to take a couple of specific yoga trainings for cancer treatment, to go along with cancer treatment, complementary treatment. And recently, 2 years ago, I completed my 500-hour training to become a 500-hour registered yoga trainer. So I continue to learn and grow and bring that to the folks that I help and facilitate, right? So you can find me, I know part of what Christina wanted us to talk about is where else you can find us in the community. So you can find me at the coalition and also at Pluta Cancer Center, and I am also available for one-on-one sessions, personal one-on-one sessions or small group. I'm also a Reiki practitioner, so I'm also available for that as well. So that's a little bit about me. I'd like to start just with a quote from the Society of Clinical Oncology, American Society of Clinical Oncology, ASCO. Yoga and meditation as well have been shown through evidence-based research to be effective complements to mainstream cancer care throughout the cancer care continuum. So over the years, when I started, there really wasn't a lot of research being done. And over the years, these 17 years, so much has been done to create this evidence-based knowledge of, yes, yoga is so beneficial when folks are going through a cancer diagnosis. And that continuum means diagnosis, treatment, and then post-treatment. And yoga is helpful through all of that. So when you are first diagnosed, it might feel like you've been hit by a tornado or a tsunami, right? Everything is turned upside down. Your yoga practice or beginning a yoga practice can help to create a little navigation, right? Help to center you and find your inner compass and a little bit of calm as you start to move through this journey. As you start to move through treatment, whether that be surgery, might be chemotherapy, radiation, oodles of appointments, whatever it happens to be, your yoga practice is a nice place to have a little control, to, again, find a place of peace and calm and create a little space for yourself, right? When in treatment, yoga can help combat some of the side effects like fatigue, sleep disturbances. With surgery, after surgery, it can help gain range of motion, regain range of motion, flexibility, strength, balance, right? And then post-treatment, sometimes, feel a little, what now, right? So again, that yoga practice can help provide a sense of community and a sense of coming home, right? So a navigational tool. That's what I like to think of yoga as your inner compass, something that you carry with you and that helps you to return home, right? So where to start? First, showing up. This is a practice. Yoga is a practice, and if we don't practice, we can't expect the tool to be available to us when we need it, right? Whether that be navigating through a particular treatment, using a breathing technique to do that, or waiting for an appointment sometimes can be quite stressful. So using some certain yoga techniques is very useful. But those aren't necessarily available to us if we don't take the time to practice them regularly. So getting on the mat regularly, taking a regular yoga class, and then doing something each day will help our nervous system stay balanced and make that available to our brain when we need it. Okay. Where else shall we start? Starting with showing up with out expectations and with a sense of curiosity. So there is no destination here other than practicing itself and exploring, how does that feel, right? You do a lot of pausing and in yoga, this particular practice. One of my teachers likes to call this practice exercise as opposed to exercise, right? So we're delving into balancing our nervous system. Also showing up then knowing that you're not alone. Not only are you practicing with others who are going through a similar situation or have gone through a similar situation, but also tuning into, again, that inner compass, that inner self, knowing that that's there to guide you. And that will help. So I always think it's so helpful to just experience yoga rather than talk a lot about it. So we're going to do that this evening. In the evening, we don't want a whole big active practice, really. So I've put together just some warm-up exercises, movements that in the evening can help to just calm you and move any of the natural day's stresses or extra stresses through the body to prepare you for rest. Okay, so we're going to begin seated. I'm going to move my chair back, okay, so that you can see me. We are going to stand up if you want. You don't have to stand up. Okay. Let me just make sure I'm in the right spot here. All right. So take a comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall in your chair. Notice your feet connected to the floor, to the earth. Feel that support and connection of your feet to the earth. Notice your hands resting on your thighs. Again, feel that connection. Connection to the earth, connection to your body. Notice your shoulders, are they relaxed? Notice your jaw. Allow the eyes to close or your gaze to soften. And just notice the natural rhythm of your breath. I'm going to begin with a poem. Often I begin or end my practices with a poem or a reading. This one is called Being Home by Donna Folds. Just listen to these words as you breathe naturally and center. Where can I soften in this posture? Where is the edge between opening and force? The line between stretch and too much effort. The mind and body serve up a feast of feelings. Each breath, another chance to deepen and to release. The smallest motion, or even just a quiet sigh, could be all that I require to shift my focus from the outer to the inner realm. A change from feeling lost to being home. A change from feeling lost to being home. Thinking of your body as your inner home, your inner being, your inner compass. So tune back into your breath and just notice the sensation of your breath as it moves through your body. Natural in and out of each breath, without trying to change it in any way. Just noticing where you feel the sensation. Perhaps you'll notice a little rise and fall of the lower abdomen with each breath. Perhaps you notice the breath shifting the shoulders or the collarbones a little bit. Wherever that happens to be, let your awareness rest there. Allowing it to bring you fully to this place and this moment and this practice. And then next, take your palms together and give them a rub. Create some warmth, create some energy. When they're nice and warm and feel a little tingly, place them on the lower abdomen. Gathering in feelings of self-kindness, fortitude, and wholeness. That energy moving from your hands into your body. And then release the hands back to the thighs. Take a big breath in. Exhale with a sigh. For our next portion, we're going to stand up. You're welcome to stay seated if that is more comfortable for you. If you're okay with that, you can stand up. My cat Masa is keeping my seat warm for me behind me. All right, so we're going to find what we call mountain position. We're just going to move through the body, some gentle movements. Again, working out any tension from the day, preparing ourselves for the evening. So I like to rock a little bit forward and back on my feet, side to side, a little bit diagonally, feeling all the parts of the feet connecting equally to the earth. A little firmness in the lower abdomen, relaxing the shoulders, broadening through collarbones, chin parallel to the floor. So we're going to start with a little head and neck stretch. It's a little flow. We're going to do it 2 times. So connect to your breath, just the natural in and out of each breath. And when you're ready, on an exhale, tip the chin towards the chest. Keep the back of the neck long. On your in-breath, tip the chin towards the sky. Again, back of neck long. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, return to center. On your next exhale, turn the head in one direction, doesn't matter which one. Return to center on your inhale. Exhale, turn in the opposite direction. And back to center. And then this time, lower an ear towards your shoulder. Shoulders remain relaxed. Without forcing. Inhale, return. Exhale, opposite direction. That's one round. We're going to do that one more time. Lower chin. Lift chin. Return chin to chest. Back to neutral. Head turns in one direction. Eyes follow, so we're scanning our space. Connecting to it. And then the other direction. And then ear to shoulder. Opposite ear to shoulder. And return to center. On your next in-breath, draw the shoulders up towards the ears. Take the whole inhale to do so. Exhale, let the shoulders slide down, shoulder blades sliding down the back. 2 more times. Let your breath be smooth and fluid, natural. Next, we'll just roll the shoulders. Let your arms relax. Moving in the opposite direction, roll the shoulders forward. And then just shake out the arms a bit. Shake out the head and neck a bit. Notice how that feels, that little pause, just as important as our movement itself, gives our nervous system a chance to catch up and digest what we just did. And we can always ask the question to ourselves, how did that feel, right, before we proceed. Next, we're just going to move our spine twisted a bit side to side. You can swing the arms a little. Again, let your head move as well if that feels okay. Eyes scanning the room. It's called empty coat sleeves. When you're ready, bring it back to center, back to neutral. And we're going to shift that movement into the hips. If we're seated, if we're staying seated, that's shifting the torso side to side, okay? Same idea, just a different application from seated to standing. And then we're going to circle hips a few times in one direction and a few times in the opposite. Again, if that's seated, you're circling the torso. Bring that to stillness. Again, do a little check-in, and then we'll just do a little swinging of the leg. If you like, if your chair is handy, you can hold on to your chair if you're standing. And then we'll point and flex the foot. We'll keep the ball of the foot on the floor and circle the ankle. A few times one way, a few times the opposite. Take a moment, notice that side in relationship to the other, and then do the same thing on the other side. Little swing, relaxing the knee joint. And then a point and flex. And then circling. A few times each direction. And give everything just a little shake out. Call this rebounding, which allows us to kind of soften and release any areas of the body that we're not even aware of, consciously aware that we are holding or guarding in any way, shape, or form. Okay. And then stop and notice. Might feel a little tingling in the body. When you're ready, gather your hands, actually rub them together again. Hands might have gotten a little chilly, but create that energy and warmth. And place the hands on the lower abdomen, just like we did in the beginning. Bringing in feelings of self-kindness, fortitude, and wholeness. Bringing that energy from the hands into the lower abdomen, instilling it in the body. We're going to add a little movement here now. So as you inhale, float the hands away from the abdomen. Do so with the rhythm of your breath, so as if the hands were connected to the breath on a thread. Exhale, gather them back in. Do that one more time. You can switch which hand is on top if you like. Now the next two times, lift the hands up a little higher. Notice how the spine starts to extend, heart center starts to open a little bit, about the height of the heart center. Exhale, gather in. Do that again. Now the next two times, lift the arms a little bit higher, about shoulder height. And gather into the throat center. Feeling the spine extend. Feet still connected and rooted to the earth's energy. The next two times, inhale, lift the arms a little bit higher. And as you exhale, let the hands hover or place them on the crown of the head. Again, inhale. And exhale. And then pause with the arms overhead just for a moment. And on the next exhale, let the hands come down in front of the body. Again, instilling it with self-kindness, fortitude, and wholeness. Take a moment in your mountain position and notice. We're going to go back to that in a moment. Next, I'm not sure if I'm mirroring. I apologize. I don't know if this is my right hand for you guys or not, but okay, good. That's how you normally work with a different device. So, okay. So your right arm, inhale, lengthen the arm up with the breath. Exhale and lower it. Now we're working each side of the body, combining asymmetrical and then following with symmetrical movements. It helps to balance our nervous system and our brains like that as well. So a little asymmetry here. Next time that you lift the right arm on your inhale, stay with the arm up. Exhale in place. On the next in-breath, just a little lateral side bend towards the left. Exhale, return to center. Just two more. Keep the movement just smooth and fluid, moving with the breath. On the next exhale, lower that arm, bring it across the body for a shoulder stretch. Circle up and over. And release that arm down, give it a little wiggle, and notice, how does that right side feel in relationship to left? And then we'll do the other side when you're ready. Inhale, float the arm up. Exhale and lower. Yeah. Two more. This time we'll stay. Exhale fully, let the shoulder relax. On the in-breath, there's that slight lateral side bend towards the right. Exhale, bring it back. One more time. On this exhale, lower the arm halfway, bring it across the body, shoulder stretch. Circle the arm up and over. And give it a little shake out, a little wiggle, shake out the shoulders. And notice, how do both sides of the body feel? Maybe a little longer, a little more relaxed. We're going to go back to that first flow, again, just to bring a little symmetry, return some symmetry to the nervous system. So bringing those feelings of self-kindness, fortitude, and wholeness into the body through the energy of the hands. When you're ready, on an inhale, float the arms away. Exhale, gather them back in. Letting the movement follow the rhythm of your breath. Let it be a natural extension of the breath. The next two, lift the arms about center of the heart height. Exhale. Next two, shoulder height. The hands come into the center of the throat. And then up a little higher, keeping the elbows nice and soft. Keeping your exhales nice and long, full and complete. Pausing with the arms up. Take a breath. And then on an exhale, letting the hands slowly come down in front of the body, feeling that energy moving through the central channel of the body, instilling you with self-kindness, fortitude, and wholeness. Pause for a moment in your mountain position. You're welcome to place the hands back on the lower abdomen or perhaps at heart center. And just check in. Notice, how did that feel? How is my breath feeling? We're going to go ahead and take a seat once again. Thank you for keeping my seat warm, Mom. That's the beauty of Zoom, is our animal friends get to join us. So find, again, that comfortable seat at the edge of your chair. Ankles below knees, knees in front of hips, hands on the thighs. We're going to do a little spinal wave. So some of those, before I start, some of those arm movements, just getting range of motion in the arms is very helpful, particularly after you've had treatment for breast cancer, right? You can get that range of motion back by these very gentle, mindful movements, moving with the breath. We're going to start some spinal waves. That is also very helpful in terms of the abdominals and the fluidity of the spine, but very helpful for the abdominals when we've been dealing with a GYN cancer diagnosis. So these things they don't have to be huge movements, but they're very beneficial when done mindfully and within the rhythm of your breath, right? So yoga is such a wonderful tool to help you explore and navigate. So hands, you can keep them kind of in the middle of the thighs to start. And as you inhale, we're going to draw the hands slightly back towards the hips, elbows drawing straight back, open the heart, lean forward just slightly. And as you exhale, slide the hands forward and round slightly through the spine, navel drawing gently in towards the spine. Inhale, slowly draw the hands back and open. Exhale, let's move forward. Just do two more. Creating a little spinal wave as you move with your breath. Let's do one more. And then bring it back up to center. Bring your hands to heart. And we'll bring one hand to the right hand to the edge of seat of your chair. Keep your left hand just under the right shoulder. Just do a very gentle twist to the right. Head staying in line with spine. Little squeeze of the abdominals on the exhale. Inhale, return to center, hands to heart. And then move in the opposite direction. Just pause here and breathe. Again, without force in any way, particularly in the evening, right? We're winding down and preparing ourselves for rest. All right, bring the hands back to heart center. And then just bring your hands to the thighs, either resting your elbows on your thighs or perhaps sliding the hands down the legs, just giving a little forward fold. Let the head relax, let the shoulders relax. Take a couple breaths. Again, lots of options. And then when you're ready, go ahead and come on up. Take a moment and do a little mental body scan, just letting your awareness travel downward through the body from head to toe. Let it meander through the head and the face, down through the shoulders and the arms and the hands. Down through the heart center and navel center, the back body, the armpits and the sides of the body and rib cage. Down through the hips and the pelvis and the buttocks. Awareness traveling downwards through the legs, all the way to the feet and toes. If there's any extra areas of tension you find along the way, invite them to soften and relax. And we're going to end our session and with a something called Brahmari breathing or bee's breath. It will be a nice preparation to hand over to Rick to move into meditation. Meditation is a natural extension of yoga. So yoga, the movements of yoga prepare us to sit and practice meditation. So let's do 3 rounds of Brahmari breathing. I think I have just a few minutes left here. So take a natural inhale, and as you exhale, create a little deep-throated hum in the back of the throat, sending that hum all the way down to the lower abdomen. 3 times. Pausing and go of your hum for a moment, perhaps bringing your hands to heart. May you feel safe. May you be happy. May you feel healthy. May you experience peace. May you know freedom. And may you feel whole. With gratitude and in friendship, we wish each other namaste. And I will hand it over to Rick.
Okay. Well, so we can wake up a little bit. Now, you don't have to do this, but if you would, whoever can or would, just stand up for a minute again. And just move your hips in a figure 8. Let's just move those hips a little bit so we can sit down a little bit longer. You've been sitting a lot, even part of this practice. And as you're doing your, what I call air infinities, your figure 8, stop and go in the opposite direction. Just keep your knees soft. Don't do this with straight legs. Move those hips. Oh, nice and easy. Everything that Susan did when she was standing, the bounce, all that stuff is great. I like to do this even in the mindfulness classes, sometimes when we've been sitting for so long. And that's enough. And now let's sit again. This gives you a break, wakes you up, some of you. Okay. A little bit about me. Let's see. I came into all of this 44 years ago. I raced motorcycles professionally for 8 years, starting when I was 16. I was injured. I know what pain feels like. And at 25, the doctor said, oh, you need operations. And someone said, go to yoga class. And so like most people, I went to yoga class. I didn't know what it was, or it's about movement. But by definition, yoga was written down almost 3,000 years ago. Yoga is the settling of the mind towards stillness. And what we see, especially in the West, is that the physical practice of yoga, just like the mindfulness practice, you have to come to a stop. You have to come to a stop. So I came to a stop. I went to my first yoga class and realized it wasn't just about my body. It was about what was going on in my heart, my mind. And I started going 3 times a week. Now, all these years later, I've been teaching yoga at Open Sky at the Zen Center in Rochester since 1989. I have my own center in Canandaigua. This is 30 years now, teaching classes before COVID at Thompson Hospital, teaching classes for Wegmans Corporation. And certified in mindfulness because for all these 44 years, really, it was about the mind. I was bringing my mind back home to this body. And that's usually the cause of stress and tension. Our mind isn't at home in the body. It's out there in left field. It's in right field most of the day. We're worrying about what happened yesterday, what's going to happen. And we really don't have a lot to do with what's happening. What the mindfulness practice is about is how do we deal with what's happening? How are we handling what's happening? And we see that this practice goes back as long as yoga, because it is part of yoga. When I've gone to India a number of times, the biggest practice in India of yoga is sitting in meditation, doing breathing practices. And there's a reason that we have the physical practice and we have the sitting practice and we have the breathing practices, because they're all tools to bring the mind back home to this body. So here's the secret teaching of yoga and mindfulness and meditation. Write it down. You have a body and you have a breath. And that's all we need. You breathe 22,000 times a day, over 900 times an hour. You have every breath an opportunity to bring the mind back home to your body. And you have the sensations of body. How much of the day do we don't even feel our body? Our mind, again, is over here. It's over there. It wants to be there. And that's what causes the stress and tension in our lives. The wants. We want to be here, but we're still here. We don't want cancer. We don't want pain. We don't want to do these treatments. We want to be there, but this is where we are. So all the studies, and you can contact me through Finger Lakes Yoga Center. You can also, feel free if Allie wants to put my email on the chat line for people to contact me for questions or whatever, that's fine. To help with any questions you might have. But this practice is about using our body wherever we are, sitting in a meeting, sitting here right now. And if we feel the sensations of body, which only happen in this moment, we're back home in the body. We're back home, that we brought the mind back home, even without judging the sensations. Like, sure, it's pain, or it could be comfortable, or we're hot and sweaty, whatever it is. We want to feel the sensations. Is it tingling? Is it throbbing? Is it just moving with each breath, coming and going? And the more you stop, because you have to stop, you have to pause, like Susan said, this is a stopping, and it is a practice. It doesn't take anything else other than coming to a stop. And in this culture, it's about go, go, go. It's about human doing instead of human being. And that's what both yoga and meditation, mindfulness is about, human being. Are we getting better at being? So this is a practice of not trying to stop what's happening, not to get out of our heads, it's to bring our mind back in. So the Pali Sanskrit word for mindfulness meditation, shamatha, it sometimes is translated as calm and abiding. Well, that comes from the practice over time, greater awareness, greater stability of the mind and emotions and heart. But it really is kind of like a gathering in. It's a gathering in. I'm sure everybody's familiar a little bit with the border collies, like in Scotland or Ireland. And you see these farmers, their sheep are way out all over the Scottish Highlands, and they send their border collie out with a little, and they whistle, and it seems like 2 miles away, and they're bringing all the sheep in, not by coercing them, not by biting them, but they bring them all back into a different pasture. And that's what we're doing in this practice. We're bringing, our mind is out there in these pastures of negativity, of what's going to happen, what happened yesterday, and we're bringing our attention, our thoughts back home in the pastures of wellness, of slowing down, of paying attention, of feeling, and not trying to push things away. And that's what this practice of mindfulness is about. It's gathering in the mind again. And every time we do, things happen in the body. We can't separate the mind from the body. I mean, the studies go on and on. Even on NPR radio, Monday morning edition, stress and tension, you have twice as much likelihood of catching diseases and colds, COVID, everything. You can go listen to that. It's from this last Monday morning. But the studies go on and on. From Dr. Benson, the relaxation response at Harvard University Medical School in the 70s, he used meditators the Dalai Lama let him use, and yogis, and he studied the relaxation response. What happens during meditation when the relaxation response happens? Blood pressure goes down. The factors of inflammation, the markers physically in your body for inflammation go down. Do they go away? No, but they go down. And the lists go on and on. When we're dealing with stress, which happens every time the mind is lost in the thinking. And we're all guilty of that. We go most of the day and our mind is, off here, off there. And all the studies have shown, and I can forward you the studies and links if you want to see those, but the Harvard was the first one, because before then, medical science in America, oh no, mind doesn't have anything to do with the physical body. Now we know absolutely it does. It can lower your cortisol levels, your inflammation, everything. Stress and tension, we know, is one of the biggest factors for disease and illness. We have to bring the mind back home. And to do that, we have to stop. And it is a practice. Again, the secret teaching is you have a body and you have breath. Breath is the life force. Breath is the life force. If you don't believe me, okay, for the next 10 minutes, hold your breath and see what happens. We can go quite a while. We could probably go a couple of months, most of us, at least I could, without eating. And most of us can go about 7 days maybe without liquid. How long can you go without breathing? That's the life force. So in all these practices, like Susan was showing with the breathing and being aware of moving and breathing, you're using the breath, and that's bringing the mind home. The whole time Susan is doing her practice and guiding us, it's showing us we're not thinking. If we're in this body, moving our arms and everything mindfully, we're not thinking. The mind is back home. But if we're in a meeting or somewhere, we can't say, oh, wait a minute, okay, I need to do my spinal waves, which are great. I do spinal waves every day. But we have to have other tools. Like we're sleeping in bed, we wake up, we can't get back to sleep. What tools can we use? We have the breath. Breath is the anchor for the mind and the nervous system. If you've ever been in a boat, out on the ocean, out in the lake, I live across the street from the lake because I can't live on the lake. I can't afford it. I see the lake. And some days there's whitecaps lately. And other days the lake looks smooth. But if you go out even on the lake on a smooth day, there's a swell. And traditionally, one of the metaphors for the thinking are the waves. It's the waves of thoughts. Some days, the waves of our thinking, it's like the whitecaps. We're all over the place. And even though the days when it's more smooth, there's still a little swell. And if you've ever been in a boat and you find a nice cove, you want to stop, if you don't put your anchors down, you're going to end up 3 miles down the lake or somewhere on someone's dock from the waves, even on the smooth days. So metaphorically, breath is our anchor. Every time you witness just conscious one breath, you brought the mind back home, because breath is a feeling. That's all it takes. pausing and cultivating the stillness of just one conscious breath. One conscious breath is medicine because it brought the mind back home. Everything starts to slow down. The body says, thank you. One conscious breath is medicine. Breath is your anchor. One conscious breath is giving gratitude to this body. And again, even though through treatments, through diagnosis, things that have happened, surgeries, you're still here. You're walking, most of you are doing jobs, doing things. And is it fun? Is it comfortable? No, but you're still here. You have a body. And every time you consciously breathe, we can say that is the first step of mindfulness because you brought the mind back home, and that's giving gratitude. Every conscious breath is giving gratitude to this body. That's all it is. It's a simple practice of gratitude, awareness, medicine. That's what this practice is. And we have the breath. There are other little tools, but we always have breath. We wake up in the middle of the night. We have a body. Bring your attention back to your feet in the bed. Are they sweaty? Are they getting closed down by the blankets? Well, the feet are the furthest thing from your mind. And while you're doing that, breath is a feeling. Whether if you feel it in your chest, your belly, your ribs, your back, your pelvic floor, wherever you feel it. If you can feel your breath and feel being inside this body, you're doing mindfulness practice. And the more you cultivate that practice, where instead of like going to the store and you got to run into the store and you got to get back home, you stop the car and park it and you pause for one breath. Right now, I want you to close your eyes, please. Now, natural breath is quick. It's effortless. I want you to just feel one breath from beginning to end. And why not do it again? One more. And one more. And then open your eyes. Even one breath before you jump out of the car and run into the store, run into work, or run into the house, you're cultivating that stillness. That one conscious breath. You brought the mind back home from out those pastures that aren't helping us and nourishing us, and brought them back home to the place of nourishment, of love and compassion to yourself. One conscious breath. And remember, it's really also about remembering without prevision. It's remembering just to take that pause. I like to say when I'm teaching, did you get 1,000 conscious breaths today? People get, well, I got my 10,000 steps in. Did you get 1,000 conscious breaths? We breathe more than 900 times an hour. So if throughout 24 hours, you had 1,000 conscious breaths here and there, one here, one there, one here, 2, 3 here, that's over an hour of mindfulness, bringing your mind back home to this body. Now, 1,000 just means it's a lot that we need to do, but it gets better and better over time. And it is a practice, like Susan said, it is a practice. There is no golden pill that will do it for you. There is no other secret teaching other than you have a body and you have breathing. And we anchor the mind, the nervous system in the body and in the breath. And yeah, we can go on and on. Is it a natural breath? Is it a chest breath? But every time you bring the mind back home and you are breathing, that's all we need to start with. You paused, you stopped, and you came back to yourself. And that's gratitude for this body. That's gratitude. And that's medicine. Because in yoga and most Eastern traditions, we feel that it says that the energy of the universe is contained in the breath, chi, prana. We can't detect it yet, but there's so much we don't know. But every year we start detecting more and more. Again, 30 years ago, nobody thought the mind could create disease in our bodies. Now we know it's possible. So who knows? But if our mind is out in left field or out in that other pasture, It is not medicine. It has to be a conscious breath containing that energy. So every conscious breath is medicine. Every conscious breath is gratitude. Every conscious breath is the practice. If we want to, go back to like the movie, What About Bob? Baby steps, cultivating this stillness in your life, just one breath at a time. Eventually, we do need a formal practice, because this practice, again, isn't about changing what is happening out there. It's how are we reacting to what is happening, and learning to, and I don't think letting go is the right word. Physically in the body, yes. When we lie down in yoga and we learn how to relax, which Susan said it expertly, soften, that's a letting go. But in our hearts and in our minds, I don't think we can ever let go of some of the fears, the angers, or how we've been hurt, but it's learning to let it be. How can we learn to let it be? How can we be less reactive? And then we actually know what to do with what's happening around us, what we have to do. So that's the practice, not a way out of this mind. It's a way back in. It's realizing how much of the day we actually are way out there in those pastures, and we need to gather that mind back home to the body. So the results aren't really in, can you sit 5 minutes a day? Can you sit an hour a day and watch your breath? We do need a somewhat of a formal practice, but the results of both Susan's practice and this practice start to show up in your daily life. How you do react to stress and tension, how you do react to what's happening around you. Do you have more kindness and compassion for yourself? That's where it begins, for yourself, not beating yourself up. Oh, I forgot to breathe today. I forgot to do my yoga practice. It has to start with us. And we're so tough on us. So bringing the mind back home, and maybe you didn't think about it for 3 days in a row, but now you did. So that's the practice. You're doing it. That's what it is. Love and compassion begins with us, and the body reacts. You brought the mind home. You're paying attention. You're giving gratitude. You're giving medicine just by consciously pausing and witnessing your breath, feeling sensations of body. That's what it is. So I'm going to give you a practice. Now, usually a guided meditation it's great because that's really learning how to soften, how to relax. But you can't use that in the workforce or, wait a minute, I got to put on my 5-minute, calming meditation. You can't do that. So we need to have the tools where we could do our practice in a meeting or waking up in the middle of the night. So that's where some of these tools come in. Now, this one, it would be not so good to do in a meeting because they might call security, but it's combining body and breath. And really the practice begins when we stop doing this little practice. So we're going to do this little practice. I have a hand. You all have a hand. It doesn't matter which hand you use. And you're going to take your finger, and it can be either on the base of the thumb or the base of the little finger. And don't do this yet, though, please. And we're going to, now, first thing about breathing is keep your mouth closed. Breathe in and out through your nose for all sorts of reasons medically. But we're going to slowly, I like to say delicately, slowly, smoothly, and delicately. We're going to inhale through our nose while we're going up our finger. We're going to exhale as we're going down. Gently, slowly, smoothly. Every time we go up, touching our finger, inhaling, exhaling on the way down. We're going to keep doing that, not fast. Nice and gentle, delicate breath all the way to the other end of whether we started the little finger or the thumb, and then we go back. Inhaling up the finger, exhaling down. And we're going to do that. And when you get all the way to the place where you started, that's when the mindfulness practice really begins. Whether if we sit for just 1 minute or if we sat for 30 minutes in my training and in my yoga classes, a lot of my yoga classes with my teachers over the last 30 some years, every class started with a 15-minute, nobody talking. They didn't say how long we were going to talk. We were, okay, let's just sit. Because in the beginning, the mind is racing, 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 and we have to really come back to ourselves. And in my meditation certification practices, oh, we would sit 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours a day. I'm not saying you need to do that. I like to say formally, find a place in your house and sit for, I like to say the time it takes your tea bag to seep. I like 4 minutes. If it goes to 5, that's okay. And instead of scrolling through your phone, instead of, watching the television or whatever it is, for that time your tea takes to seep, can you just feel your breath and just let those thoughts come in one door and go out the other door without adding, without judging, without evaluating? It's a hard practice. And we're all human, and we'll start thinking of writing down our life story. But, I'm supposed to be watching my breath during my tea. And you come back, that's the practice. So that's where we're going to go right now. So whether if you're sitting up or lying down, you have a hand. I want you to start either at the base of your thumb or the base of your little finger. And for yourself, gently through your nose, in and out, as you go up a finger, inhaling, so delicately, gently, smoothly, and exhaling as you go down. Inhaling up the next finger, smooth and steady, and exhaling on the way down. So we're combining touching the body, being in the body, with the breath. When you get to the other opposite digit, your thumb or your little finger, come back. Nice and easy, gently, a light touch. So you want to end up where you began. It takes some time. It takes coming to a stop, doing this practice. Keep bringing the mind back home to touching and breathing. When you're all done, just let your hands sit in your lap. And your eyes can be open or closed. And just for the next 3 minutes, I want you to tell your mind it has one job. Feel your breath coming and going from the beginning to the end. Feel the sensations of being in a body without judging. If we get sidetracked, just compassionately bring the mind back home. Because you remembered to come back. Feeling your breath. Breath is a feeling. If you need to put words to your breath, that's not thinking. In, out, inhale, exhale, that's fine. You have a breath and you have a body. It is a practice. As you come back with your awareness and your attention, when you do this practice, some days you will never stop thinking. Other days you might fall asleep. But if we don't do it at all, we won't ever have that sense of, over time, being a little bit more aware of what our mind is doing, bringing it back home. That's where the calmness, the stability, the clarity comes in. And it can happen today, but it doesn't mean it'll happen tomorrow. So it is a practice. But you have the secret teachings now. You have a body and you have breath. Anchor your mind in the breath. And that takes, again, coming to a stop, just for even one breath, a pause to cultivate that. So I want to read one thing, a woman that, a poet, a mother, an herbalist, a writer from Ireland, Bridget Onick McNeil. I waited for someone to save me, to change my life, for some unknown God to magically make things better. I could have searched the whole world for my hero and rescuer, only to find there is no one as capable of saving me than me. I remember once someone saying to me, I have bad news for you. It's down to you and the choices you make. And I have good news for you. It's down to you and the choices you make. It is a practice. So, thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being. Remember, we're trying to be better at being and not so much better at doing. I'm sure everybody out there is good at doing. Let's get better at being. So, I give it back to Christina or Allie.
That was amazing.
Christina fell asleep.
I knew with my pause that could be one thought. Absolutely. I just love both of you. Listening to your voices the whole time has such a calming effect. I feel my blood pressure going down. It's just magical. And I want to thank you both for what you bring to the survivors, to the community. It's just absolutely amazing. And I think this is just such a reminder for our community to take advantage of the offerings and to actually make this time for ourselves. I do have I have one question that's come in, the rest are just accolades, and I do want to share those. So a big thank you to Susan for your commitment to yoga and breast cancer. I started yoga with you in 2018 during treatment. Followed you to the BCCR Monday evening class when I went back to work, and I have never stopped. My connection to you and yoga and the BCCR and my yoga mates are a big part of my life. Going to weekly yoga is like coming home. It is special because you are special. During Rick's practice tonight, this is a wonderful reminder, and just a big thank you for that reminder. One question that came in for Rick, you mentioned breathing in and out through the nose only. Is that standard practice for yoga and mindfulness? You mentioned that there are medical reasons for breathing this way. What are they? This person had thought it was in through the nose and out through the mouth. So some clarification would be welcome.
Okay. Well, anybody that's interested in breathing, this is the book you need to read. It's called Breath by James Nestor. It was on the New York Times best-selling list for a year, about 2 years ago. And it's documented all the studies from the different universities, and they were dealing with breath as health. But it showed up also what it did do to the state of the mind. Breathing through your mouth. Now, if you're really stressed out, exhaling through your mouth is fine, but most people start to inhale through your mouth. The humans were evolved to keep our mouth shut. And that's what's really emphasized in this book. The more you breathe through your mouth, except if you're doing that is harmful to our health in every way possible. So, and the humming breath, the Brahmari breath that Susan was teaching, if you have respiratory issues, it can increase up to 17 times greater effects in helping your breath, humming with your mouth closed, if you do it 5 minutes a day, whatever humming you do. That's just one medical aspect of it. Susan and I learned it because it was for the mind, but it also has all this medical benefit. So the biggest thing is, because what happens, the fight or flight response is breathing through the mouth really quickly. The adrenaline levels go up, the cortisones go up, and the blood, everything happens. And then we drank coffee and we're going around, and I just got my diagnosis back, and no, it's pretty common. We're going to breathe through our mouth, but everything is going to keep being inflamed and everything until we close our mouth and let the breath go in and out through the nose. And there's lots of other physiological, I could talk about this for 3 hours, but that's the quick response.
And Rick, that was Breathe by James Nestor.
Right, the New Science of a Lost Art, James Nestor, and it's actually breath, just the word breath.
Breath. The New Science. I'm just putting it in the chat for someone who had asked.
The New Science of a Lost Art. It's
Wonderful.
available in paperback. It's amazing. Everybody that I've recommended to it, all my yoga students that read it are like, wow.
Fabulous. A couple of other comments that I've had here. Just a thanks for an awesome presentation, wonderful instructors, great human beings. God bless each and every one of you. Just a wonderful and much needed presentation for someone who wrote in here. We have Julie who mentioned that she read this book, Breath by James Nestor, at Rick's recommendation, and also echoes that it is amazing. Just a very nice presentation, helpful tips, great help, Susan and Rick. So nice to always have your support. And just a thanks to the coalition for putting everything together. And Allie is our vein of connection to all of this. I love that phrase. That's wonderful. Somebody said that they tend to fall asleep during meditation. Does it have the same effect if they're sleeping?
Okay. No. The mind doesn't rest when you're sleeping. Think about it. Most of us, we go to bed at night and the mind goes even faster. Dreaming and all the woulda, coulda. The mind, we know, doesn't rest when we sleep unless you're really sleeping 8 or 9 hours. So we need, even if it's a 3-minute sitting practice, we need a relaxation practice, or if we lie down. If we fall asleep, it usually means we're exhausted. We're exhausted. We need more rest. It's okay if we fall asleep, but it won't do the same thing for the state of the mind, but your body will appreciate it.
Okay, I think that's some great advice. We have someone else who wrote in and said they've got the pleasure of working with both Rick and Susan. They are both amazing. The practice of yoga and meditation and relaxation have really helped this person to stay centered. Very grateful that both of you are a part of the Breast Cancer Coalition. Multiple thank yous are coming into the chat. I just want to echo what they say. I take bits and pieces. I'm going to fully admit to being one of those people who is constantly going. And I just love whenever I speak with either of you that just to remember to breathe and how easy that is. And we do it. And that none of this has to be an overwhelming time commitment or, something more to block off of our schedule. It is just important time to make for ourselves that we can do very simply. Thank you so much. Really, as a reminder to anybody as they exit the webinar tonight, there will be a survey. I ask you to answer those questions. Our feedback is shared with anyone who presents as well as coalition staff. We many times throughout the year have classes both from Rick and from Susan in what you participated in tonight, more of the same, more connection with fellow survivors in our community. So please reach out to Allie at bccr.org for any of the information. Look for emails if you're not already receiving them on when those next sessions will begin. We'd love to have you join if you haven't, and we look forward to seeing you again if you have. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Stay safe, stay warm. Have a good night.
Thank you, Christina.
Good night.
Thanks, Allie.
Thank you, Allie, for everything always. Our
Go
vein of
team.
connection.
Go
I
team.
love it. Go team. Thanks, Rick and Sue. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Night.